Hi guys, Guillermo is here. Welcome back to the Revit Architectural Training Tutorial. In this tutorial, we will learn about adaptive components. Let's begin. Adaptive components are mostly used when there is a need to adapt a family to different positions in space, following parametric rules. A special feature is that, while in regular components or families, the geometry of the family is related to one unique insertion point. In adaptive components, it can be related to more than one insertion point. In this way, the adaptive component can grow differently depending on the specific position of those points. There are two types of family templates for creating adaptive components: generic model adaptive, and generic model pattern based. The key aspect of the adaptive components is the definition of the adaptive points. The geometry drawn by snapping to these flexible points results in an adaptive component. Adaptive components can be used in pattern panel families, adaptive component families, conceptual massing environment and projects. What are the advantages of adaptive components? Adaptive components are a powerful tool. They allow us to create dynamic adaptive components in Revit. This means that we can have infinite forms of a family without having to have infinite types of family with different parameter values. Each instance will adapt according to the position of its adaptive points. Because of the adaptive component smart nature, its applications are endless. What are the disadvantages of adaptive components? Adaptive components do not have any 2D capability. There is no annotation tab in the adaptive family editor. No text within adaptive components. No symbols. No symbolic lines. No detail components. And no filled or masking regions. To create an adaptive component, we need to select the family template. Depending on the units of your project, select the metric or imperial template. Use generic model adaptive for generic models, and generic model pattern based for pattern panels. Adaptive points are modified reference points that are used when designing an adaptive component in the conceptual design environment. In the generic model pattern based template, adaptive points are already created in a square shape. In the generic model adaptive template, adaptive points can be created by the user. Adaptive points are created by inserting some reference points and making them adaptive in a generic adaptive family. When a reference point is made adaptive, it has a placement point by default, and they will be numbered in the order in which they have been placed. The geometry drawn using these adaptive points results in an adaptive component. If you need to change the order of the numbering, you can pick on a number, change it, and the others will adjust accordingly. Before start modeling any piece of geometry, we have to know that each adaptive point has 3 work planes. To start creating a surface, make sure 3D snapping is turned on and draw a reference line from point to point. To do this, select the Modify tab, Model Lines, Reference Lines, and turn on the 3D snapping from the options bar. What is the difference between choosing model lines, reference lines? Model lines are actual lines or edges that will appear in the model when the family is loaded into the project. Reference lines are reference elements that have no visual entity when loading the family into the model, but are a good basis to create geometry. Choose in each case the line that best fits the purposes of the component. To create a surface, draw model lines in the order of the reference point numbers and make sure that the lines are linked to the adaptive points. Sometimes it can be difficult to link properly the lines to the points. In that case, we can proceed by selecting 2 points and choosing the Spline through Points tool. The line will be automatically attached to the points. If we select only 2 points, we will get a straight line. If we select 3 or more points, we will get a spline through the points. The reference line will follow the adaptive points wherever they move. When you have a closed curve, you will be able to convert the lines into a surface or a solid form by clicking the Create Form button. Depending on the input data, we will be able to create different types of geometry based on the adaptive points. If we place a reference point in some of the reference lines, and draw a circle in the perpendicular plane to the line, we will get a sweep when applying Create Form to the circle and the reference lines. Although in adaptive components, we do not find the geometry tools buttons from a regular family, such as extrusion, sweep, blend, etc. The Create Form tool uses the following logic for different data inputs. Closed loop, we get a surface or an extrusion. Path and cross-section profile, we get a sweep. Path and various cross-section profiles, we get a sweeping blend. Two parallel but different profiles, we get a blend. An axis and a profile, we get a revolving. We can also get the same solid and void forms and make Boolean operations.